GM. We are going live here to do some more building. We are going to be building a game with Onchain Kit today. Let's get my screen shared. So the type of game that we're going to be building is an idea that I got from a post from Jake earlier today. So I'll kind of share my idea with you all. I just want to make sure the stream is working and that we're live. Yeah. All right, cool. I'm gonna check Unlonely as well. Yeah, great. We got some folks here from Unlonely. Perfect. Can launch like a 30-minute token just for fun. Unlonely is a real fun place to be if you're gonna watch the stream, because you could start like tokens. So I'm just gonna make like a 45-minute token called Sunday Vibes. And we'll get that cranking for the folks on the Unlonely page. I just think it's a fun little interesting feature of Unlonely, and I just want to make sure we get that rocking, and there it is. Perfect. So great, that's up and running. So let's talk a little bit about the idea I had from Jake's post. So if you don't know Jake is the creator of Base Colors. So what are Base Colors? Base Colors are a NFT collection on Base, and you can basically mint any color on the internet as an NFT. Thing is, if somebody's minted it before, you can't mint it yourself. So I think there's something like 16 million of them that you can mint, but once somebody mints that color, you're out of luck. You could maybe buy it from them on the open market, like OpenSea or something like that. So, you know, there's that whole aspect of it too, but there's like millions that haven't been minted yet. So the idea is to build a fun mobile game with Base Colors. And one idea that came to mind almost immediately for me is like, well, what's a game that has to do with colors and maybe could like incentivize more mints for Jake? And the idea that I had was the game Simon. So if you remember Simon the game, it looked like this. I don't know how many people remember that, but basically you get a random like pattern that you have to repeat back to the machine, and if you repeat it back in the correct order, it just adds on to the pattern until you can't remember what the pattern was anymore and your streak is over. So we're gonna make that, and my idea is, you know, it'll be more than just 4 colors. It'll be all the base colors that you own, and basically, like, if you own more colors, you can get a longer streak. I want to incorporate something in there with like owning colors being a good part of the game. One idea might be like, maybe it doesn't cut your streak off, but your score is maybe multiplied by the Jesse again with the reposting of the streams. Oh my god, love to see it. Thanks, Jesse. So maybe an idea is like, if the game, you know, you can play the game just like anybody else, but maybe your score is multiplied by the number of colors you own, and the game incorporates your colors as part of the Simon game. That's kind of, I think that's the direction I'll start off with and then build on top of that. But hey, we're building this out in the open here, which means that your feedback could be seen in real time. So I'm going to do my darndest to monitor the chats as best I can on Twitter, on Lonely, and I think I'm doing YouTube today as well as a like experiment, because I haven't streamed on YouTube yet, and I want to make sure that I experiment with all these different platforms and try to find out what's best. So I dropped Twitch today, and I'm trying Unlonely, X, and YouTube. All right, so let's talk about how we would go about making this game. We're gonna make the Simon game with Base Colors. Thanks to Jake's post for the idea. So let me just clear this. So what I'm thinking about doing is a Next.js app, and I'm thinking about pulling in your base colors, and maybe like the game will have a square for each base color that you own, right? So say like you own all these base colors, we'll print them on the page, and they'll light up just like the game Simon. If you're familiar with it, they'll light up a pattern that you have to repeat back. And if you get it right, the pattern continues. It continues to grow. And if you get it wrong, your score goes back to 0. So maybe we have like your score or something up here, streak, whatever it's called. You know, streak. We'll pretend it's like one like number colors owned. Say like that's like, say you had like 4 colors. Well, how many is there? There's 8 in this example. And so let's just say like the rule is going to be that your score is going to be your streak times the number of colors you own, so that if you have more colors, you get higher scores. That's just an idea, and like I said, if anybody has any ideas on how to make this a little bit more fair or fun, or you know, you're great at these, like making these game rules, like I'm all ears. So definitely share your comments and ideas in the chat. But here we go. We're gonna get building now, which is the best part of the whole dang thing. We'll probably fumble in some areas. That's okay. We're gonna do our best to kind of recover fast so that we can keep the stream moving and see how far we can get in roughly an hour. So what I like to do, I like to start off with the T3 stack. And if you're not familiar with the T3 stack, it's really just Next.js, but it has a couple of things baked in for you. So I like bun. So I'm just gonna make, I'm gonna copy the create command. I'm gonna make this bigger so that y'all can see it. You just copy the create command, create T3 app at latest, and it does all the heavy lifting for you of scaffolding a Next.js project. We'll call this base colors Simon. We'll use TypeScript. We're going to use Tailwind for styling. TRPC is what we're going to use to communicate with the backend, with the server. We'll use Onchain Kit when communicating with the blockchain. We'll use TRPC to communicate with our backend, and I'm not exactly sure what that'll look like quite yet, but if we do need that, we're going to include that. And then it comes with next auth scaffolding as well. We're not going to need next auth scaffolding, so I'm just going to say none. And then you could also hook up a database really easily with this as well, using something like Prisma or Drizzle as ORM or ORMs. I'm sorry, which is basically a way of just like not having to learn SQL. Really, you're just using JavaScript. If you're a JavaScript dev, it makes making queries super simple, but we're not going to need that. And I don't use the app router right now, at least not on like, 1 hour streams where I'm trying to get something up off the ground. So we're not going to do that yet. We're just going to go to the pages router, and let's make it get a repository and run bun install so that it installs all of the dependencies. And then the alias is like, you don't have to go like .. to import files, like based on where you're at in the directories. Slash is kind of like the shortcut for going straight to the root. So it's nice and like clean. Okay, so I'm actually just gonna make it like lo-fi music, so we're not like hearing the same song over and over. But now we have our base colors Simon project scaffolded successfully, so we can go into that, and then I'm going to open up Cursor, which is my IDE. I'm going to open up this project in Cursor. I'm going to make a terminal for this and just do this really quick and bring it back into frame. So my terminal is just like this, except it's within my IDE. So I'm also going to make this a little bit bigger for you all as well, so you can actually see it. Let me just pull up a page and just see how much I should zoom in here. Zooming in like that much is probably okay, hopefully. And then what we'll do is we are going to just run it locally and show you what this looks like. So bun run dev to run locally, go to localhost, And we've got our Next.js T3 app ready to go. So I think first things first is let's install our Onchain Kit so that we can do things like, see who the user is when they connect, and that will tell us which base colors that they have, and that'll sort of dictate like the game and like which colors light up when playing the game. We can do that. I kind of like to get rid of all this boilerplate stuff in the beginning just because I don't like it kind of cluttering up my space a little bit. So I'm just gonna get rid of this and do like hello, save that, and now it's just a blank page, which works well for me. I'm gonna get rid of this API request that it makes. It's all just like boilerplate stuff to show you how the app works, but we don't really need that right now. Let's go to the docs at Onchain Kit and let's install it. So you can see they have something for Bun, which is what I like to use. It's just super fast. So I'm gonna stop the server. Oop, I'm gonna add the Onchain Kit with the Bun command. And if we go to the docs here, it kind of walks us through how to get started. I have an API key for the Coinbase developer platform, so I'll use that. I'm going to take that off screen when I put it in. I just want to see. Yeah, I'm just going to move that off screen when I do that. But so I think that's really the first thing is if you haven't used Onchain Kit yet, you want to make sure you go ahead, get yourself an API key. It's free. You can start building with it. And when you import it into your project, it'll look like this. You're going to use your .env file. I'm going to use a name called, I'll call it like next public Onchain Kit API key. This does get exposed on the front end. I think they call it public Onchain Kit, so I think it's fine. So to add that to like a Next.js project, one thing that I really like about the T3 stack is that it comes with like this environment variable type safety. So I have like this file here of all of the environment variable names. So this is a string, right? The Onchain Kit API key is a string. We add that here, and it's from the process.env object. And so now I can essentially pull this in with type safety across my app. I'm just going to quickly fill this in with my actual API key off screen, and then I'll bring it back on. Okay, so I just filled in that file. But now what I can do is I can import my, or I can continue to go through the docs here of Onchain Kit, and I have access to my API key, and I'll show you how to do that. So just looking through, what are the next steps here? Onchain Kit provider. So I think we'll make a new folder called providers, and we'll make an Onchain Kit provider as like as a file, and we will import that into like the main part of our app. So here I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to call it providers, and I'm going to call it like Onchain providers, just like they do in the docs. And I'm just going to take this code, copy it, paste it, and call this one a type. Let me see here. Yeah, so instead of like your components, this is really just so let's see this next step. Make it the WAGMI provider. Okay, so we need to put the WAGMI provider around the Onchain Kit provider. So let me just take all of this, and I think I can probably just replace everything here with that. We need a WAGMI file, like a WAGMI config file, which they give you here. Import that. So I'm just going to make another folder called config, and I'm just going to make one called wagmi.ts. Paste this code into that, and then what are they doing here? You got your app name. We'll call it Simon Base Colors. Oh, we can change that later. We're not using SSR, so set this to false. And it's already set up to use base, which is sweet. That's great. Okay. So now I think if I go back here, I just want to import the WAGMI config from where I actually have it stored, which is like slash config WAGMI. Okay, great. Now we need to export this as like the default. I don't think we're not exporting. Oh, down here. Export that. And now we can use this in our app. Is that what it's doing here? Yeah, it is. So layout.tsx, like, so that's more of a app router thing. We're using the pages router. So if I just go to my _app file, if I wrap this whole thing in the on-chain provider from that we just made together, then the app now is set up to use Onchain Kit, just like that. Pretty cool. It comes with some styling, so we can import those styles here. Perfect. All right. Now, if we start our server up, nothing should look different, but it should at least work. All right, and it should just say hello and nothing else. And it does. Cool. All right. So now we've kind of did like, that was a lot of just like setup, right? So one thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to start thinking about the game itself. We can maybe start putting some structure to this page, maybe make it a little bit more like this, right? So let's just have these next to each other. So I think like, one thing here is maybe like a flex box and maybe like centered on the page. So I'm not going to go too crazy or anything like that with this yet. I'm just going to make it so flex column will basically just stack divs like this. So see how it's just stacking like that. We'll give it a container just for like some padding, really. All right, these are all the different rules that come with the container. And we're just going to center this thing up. And we think, what else? If I see the, yeah, so it's just that. So I think for right now, that's fine. We don't need like a min height or anything right now. So actually, one thing I'm going to do, I'll center this all on the page, just like this is. So it's like vertically centered. So we will make this a minimum height of whatever the screen is, and we will center things on the page. Was it align center? Oop. Align middle. Sorry, we don't actually need to do that right now. Like if we're fussing, with that, we're just not going to worry about that right now. Let's just leave it at this for now. Yeah, fine. So let's make it look like this. Let's have like our squares just being like populated on the page. So I'm going to use a flex row for that. And for now, we'll just just pretend that there's 8, and then we'll get the data in just a second. So one thing is cool is like using AI. I just say like make an array of 8 items and print them on the page, and it doesn't see, look at that, like these, you just pretend for a second that these are our base colors, right? And then we're just essentially just printing them here into divs. And now we've got them all right here, but we want them in like a row, right? So we're going to use flex row, and we'll put a gap in between each one. And now when we print them out, they'll be horizontal, just like that. And they're going to be like boxes, right? They'll be like squares. So you can just give it like a class name with a fixed width of, let's just do like a width of 10 and a height of 10 and a background of like red 300 or something, right? So like we're getting closer to what this looks like. If we give the container like a max width of medium, let's do extra small just to see what that, so it's shrinking them. So if we just say like flex wrap, and we made the width super small, See how it wraps them? So that's kind of like what we want, you know? So, but as far as the width goes, in reality, maybe the width doesn't get any bigger than small, okay? And if we just make these bigger, like you can kind of see what this looks like with the wrapping, right? We may, we gotta make the, we kind of made them too big. Let's just make 24. Yeah, so they're wrapping, okay? So we're getting there. And so remember, the whole goal, and if you're just joining us now, the whole goal of what we're making today is a app like the game Simon, right? If you remember, I don't know how old you are watching this game, but when I was a kid, this was one of the more advanced technological games I had before I was playing video games. Essentially, these colors light up in a certain pattern, and then you just have to press those colors in the order of the pattern, and then the pattern will get longer and longer, and you have to remember what the pattern is as it gets longer and longer. And if you mess up, your streak is over. So we're doing that exact thing, but we're going to be playing with base colors, the NFT collection right here. So Jake said, hey, somebody should make a game with base colors. So that's what we're doing here today. We're kind of just messing around here and using Onchain Kit, T3 stack, whatever else we have to do to make this work, and just seeing how far we go. So right now we're just printing dummy data on the page here. I think a funny thing or a fun thing to work on would be like, what does it mean to like glow? You know, like how does the user know that like what the pattern is? So I just wanted to maybe make these boxes into their own components. So we will do that right now. Let's make a components folder. Let's make a component called color. And yeah, we'll call this is going to be a functional component. So we can take that type from React, functional component. It's just a type that we're importing. And then I'll just take what we did here and return that. Doesn't need a key anymore because it's not part of like a list. And it's going to take in a prop so we know what's going on here, like what's being passed into it. I think we'll just call it, like for now, we'll just call it a color and it's a string. And we'll pass that into the component. And in the future, it's definitely going to be more information than just that. For now, we'll just pass this in. And let's just actually change this to be like, make this array, make each element in the array a random hex color value. So this is one thing I really like AI for. Like that's just like pretty cool. So now you get like all these random hex color values, because eventually we're gonna be doing this with base colors and we'll actually get hex values back. But for now, when we're working with dummy data, that's kind of cool to do that. So now when the color, instead of doing like BG red 300, we actually have a hex value being passed in as the color. So we can just make it whatever color we get passed. So I'll just do dash and then the color, and then it complains. It's totally fine. I wonder why. I probably did something wrong. Dash. Oh, you know what? It's like this is a hydration. Is this a hydration error? Yeah. So let's just do a little hack right now for our next JS hack that I do a lot when it's just first starting out. We're basically just going to check on render. So we'll just say like is mounted false, and then when the page loads, we will say that it's mounted. And if it's not mounted, we're just going to not return anything. And that kind of like prevents these errors from popping up. So we'll get rid of that workaround in a little bit. But for now, because we're not calling the color component. Feel free to shout that stuff out too if you see me do something silly like that. So we pass it the color. Okay, great. That's wonderful. Now, let us take a quick look at just chats to make sure not missing anything. Cool. Obviously, the background is not working as intended. It's important because we want to see it like glow, and we're definitely going to need to use the color to do that. So let's just take a quick look as to what's going on here. BG, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm pretty sure you're allowed to do that with Tailwind. So I'm just going to tell my AI to do that for me. I must have done something wrong. Make the background color based on the color that was passed in. Okay, is it really good? It's just not going to use a class? Don't tell me. All right. Okay. It's just doing direct styling instead of the class. Not very happy with that. Can this be done with class names? Yeah. Okay, well, I didn't. All right, never mind. It's working, and we're okay with that. And for the sake of the length of the stream, we're just gonna keep rolling with that. So, how do we make this thing glow? I'm sure that there's some really cool like blur effects or some other CSS effects we can use to kind of like make it glow. It will definitely be some kind of like function because we're gonna want the glow when the user presses it, but we're also gonna want the color to glow when Simon, the game, is telling us what the pattern is. So if we have a function called glow, how about like I think we're gonna need like a state that's like is glowing. I think that's what we'll do. So we'll have like is glowing, and that'll be a Boolean just like that. And our function to glow will be like toggle glow. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. And then but we want it to like glow for like 300 milliseconds and then turn off. So it's like, how about like glow is going to be like set glowing is true. Yeah, perfect. And then I don't know, 300 milliseconds is fine. Set it to false. And it's funny how the AI just knew that. So then when you click this div, this color, you're actually going to make it glow. So on mouse enter glow. And I guess we can just see what that looks like. All right, we got some questions in chat. It's about color punks. Are we going to make a profile on Twitter for color punks? Possibly. Also, if you're interested in like running that yourself too, like you could definitely make that happen. All right, so hovering this is not doing what I thought, so let's make it on click. Glow, right? Oh well, glowing is actually not doing anything quite yet, so it's like if glow is true, make the div glow. I'm curious what AI would do here. Yeah, that's not a is that an actual class glow? I doubt it. Yeah, I don't think that does anything. So that wasn't very helpful. I wonder what Claude thinks about that. So we just use ChatGPT. Now we're using Claude, and Claude just doesn't know what I'm talking about. Come on, Claude. Make the div glow if is glowing is true. All right. Thanks for playing, Claude. Thank you for playing. Going back to GPT-4. But what we're going to really want to do is add some kind of like blur or something. So, okay, so this is the Copilot wants some kind of ring. Not sold on that. Let's quickly say like is glowing. Ooh, yeah, that's a nice way to know. Okay, so yeah, the glow is only like, let's make this a little bit longer so that we can tell what's actually happening. So the star means it's glowing. The ring is not doing anything for us right now. What if we made the ring red 300? Would that do anything for us? little bit, a little bit. But I definitely think we need some kind of a blur effect or something. All right. I wonder, and if you are a front-end guru who has ideas about this, let me know. But I think, to be honest, like, we don't need to spend too much time on that right now. Like, we just, as the dev, know that, like, that's what a glow looks like, and then in the future we can make it look kind of pretty. So when you click it, it's glowing. Click it, it's glowing. All right, that's great. We got that happening right now. Now I think maybe we could either talk about game logic, or we can talk about pulling in data. I think for the sake of the stream, we'll pull in like the Onchain Kit data first. If you're new to Onchain Kit, this will be interesting. Oh. All right. So if you're new to Onchain Kit, this will kind of show you how you can like put auth on the page, and then maybe we can pull in some other data about the user too. So let's see here. We did all these steps before. Let us put like a connect button on the page. Let's just do a quick search for connect. Yeah, wallet. Okay. So where is this on the left-hand side? Down here. Okay. All right. So the wallet is a comprehensive interface for users to connect their smart wallet, view their identity, and we as the app developer also see like what address is connected, which is useful because we're going to want to find out what base colors that address owns, then we're going to want to put those base colors on the page. So let's just make a new component. Oops, not a folder, a file. We'll call it wallet, and that actually might clash a little bit here with some other names. Let's just call it Onchain Wallet, and we'll copy all of this and paste it here, and let's see how that works out of the box. Looks kind of sweet. Looks pretty sweet. And all we have to do now is throw that bad boy on the page. Onchain Wallet. What did I call it in the component here? It's just called wallet components. I call it Onchain Wallet. Yeah. And now I'll pull it in and see, there I am. That's me, and I'm connected. Cool. So my app is also going to be able to know who I am, and then I'll be able to do use that to pull in my base colors. So, okay, so actually, this is a good moment if the Onchain Kit team is watching, because I'll share this feedback formally as well. But I've run into this issue quite a few times on the getting started docs. Not a huge issue. It's very easy to fix, but it's just not included in this file. It's this identity component here. Needs something like what's called like a schema ID, and it comes from whatever chain you're on, the EAS for that. And I definitely have seen this in other parts of the docs. I think it's in the identity component itself. Yeah, here we go. Here's the schema ID. So once I put that in there, that error goes away. But I need something there, otherwise I get that error. So now I don't get that error. All right. See, very easily. We'll keep it moving. We've got all right. So we were gonna essentially find out who is this user that is attached to or logged into the app, because we need to find their base colors. So the Onchain Kit comes pre-built with WAGMI installed already, and WAGMI is a very popular set of React hooks that you can use to do things like find out who's connected to your app. So is there like a here's like, you can find out if they are connected. There's like this use account hook. I just want to see if I can find that. Yeah, here it is, the use account hook, and this is what we want. So I'm just gonna go ahead and implement that, just like, right here on the home page for now is fine. We'll probably put it somewhere else later. But if we say that const account is equal to use account, now you'll see that when I'll console log this on the page so you can see what we get back. But in this is the address. So here's the account that's being logged, and you can see, yeah, it's probably a little difficult for you to see, so I'll zoom it in, but there's my smart wallet address, OX51B, OX51B. So our app will use that to go to the base colors collection and figure out who is connected to the app. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Thanks, Jake, for the repost. Jake is the creator of base colors, and thank you, Leo, for the repost as well. Leo is on the Onchain Kit team. I had the pleasure of meeting both of those gentlemen at Basecamp this week. Just incredible builders, incredible people. Looking forward to, continuing to build in the space with such amazing and hardworking folks. It's Sunday night and people are tuning in. That's incredible energy. All right, so let's keep it rolling. Let's talk about how we're going to get those base colors that belong to this wallet. There's a few different ways we can do that. One would be to use WAGMI to read from the base colors contract and get every NFT from the contract that belongs to that address. Now, easier said than done in some cases, especially if you're going to be working with multiple, if you're working on an app that has multiple NFT collections, you're not always going to be dealing with the same functions on these NFT contracts. And so, you might not, there might not be as much consistency as you would like. There's tons of NFT APIs out there. One that I really like, and if you're building on Base, you get a free enterprise account with, is Simple Hash. Simple Hash, is indexing a bunch of different blockchains. Base is one of them, but they are indexing a whole bunch of different ones. And you can find information about what's happening on chain, but with an API that is, uniform across all those different contracts. They kind of normalize all the data for you. And it indexes pretty fast too, so that the data is pretty up to date. And so we're going to use that, I think. I think it'll be a cool show off of the T3 stack as well as Simple Hash. And you'll see how we are passing in the information that we got from Onchain Kit, like the user's address, to find the NFTs that they own in the base colors collection. So if you are a dev in Web 2, this is actually not going to feel foreign to you at all. It's going to feel pretty familiar. So let me show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go to my server folder, which was created when we did the T3 stack installation. Go to the routers, and this was the router that got generated just from like the demo the scaffolding of T3. We don't need this because it's just for an example. So I'm just gonna build around it and like refactor it to be what we actually need. So I'm gonna make what's called a router. I'm gonna call it the NFT router because it's gonna basically fetch anything we need from an NFT perspective. And it's really just gonna do our API calls to Simple Hash. So let's make a procedure. We can get rid of all these other procedures that we don't need, just to minimize confusion. And this is the name of the procedure. You can think of procedures almost like API endpoints. They're type safe in the sense that we're actually going to get some autocomplete when we start coding around this. So instead of calling it hello, I'll call it like get owned base colors. And it's a public procedure, which means you don't need like a session cookie or anything like that, any kind of auth on my server to hit this. And it's going to take in, let's see, we'll just take in like the address, and that's just going to be a string. That's going to represent the owner that we're fetching the colors for. And I spelled this wrong. Get owned base colors. Okay. Yo, this is all right. Leo just posted something, and I just want to show you just how base this is. I just made a comment like a minute ago about like that schema issue, the schema ID issue that you saw. Leo, who works on the team, already just reposted it and said, "Hey, we took note of that. They're gonna fix that." It's Sunday night at 9 o'clock, and people are grinding in this space, just like so cool. The energy is through the roof, insane. Okay, so we've got we've got some API requests to make now that we've got the user's address that we've gotten from their connection to our app. We know their address. We send it to the backend, and here we are in the backend. So we're going to take that address and we're going to send it to Simple Hash. So there's an endpoint that we can use for NFT owners. So let me see. I think it's this one. Yeah. So essentially, you can just use it to get, like, you pass in the wallet address and you get back some NFTs that they hold. We're going to be specific about wanting to use the base colors contract address and the wallet address that we get passed in, and we're always going to be using base. So it's going to be pretty simple for us to kind of put this API request together. I've actually done this before for a different project called ColorPunks, which is something somebody else was commenting about earlier. And I'll kind of just copy and paste some code so we don't have to like spend too much time on this, and I can just show you or walk through why this is the way that it is. So we're going to need to do a few other things for this code to make sense, but essentially here's the URL, and we got that from our Simple Hash API documentation, which I'll make bigger. The Simple Hash API endpoint is this, and that's exactly what we've got here. And for the wallet address, we're just going to pass in the address that we're given from the front end, which is what our user is connected with. The contract addresses, so we're only going to want to search for the base NFT, the base colors NFT contract address, and that's going to be this right here, which I will need to make a what do you call it? Like a constant for. So I usually like to make a folder called constants and organize it by different things like addresses, and I'll export a const called base colors, and that will just be the address of the base colors collection, which I have a note of right here. Addresses, base colors, it's this one right here. So now we can just import this, and now we're always going to be passing that address along to Simple Hash. The chain is base, and this limit of 50, I'll show you in a second what's going on there. This NFTs by wallet response is a custom-made type. So I like working with TypeScript because it's like just helps me kind of like organize the code a little bit more. So it could be a little bit of a pain to generate these types for yourself, especially if the API doesn't give you them out of the box. So I've gone ahead and done that already, and so it's really, it's really not that interesting. It's really just taking a look at the data that comes back from the API and then defining what that kind of structure looks like. I'm just gonna copy and paste one that I've done earlier today. These are just like all the different things that come back in the type hash API, Simple Hash API, and typed out here. So I'm just going to import this, and so that basically just says, hey, when this API comes back with some data, it's definitely going to look like this. That's essentially what I'm telling the IDE. And so what's important to note, and this is something Jake and I found while building the ColorPunks together, is these APIs sometimes limit how many can come back. So if you own more than 50 colors, it's not going to show you more than 50 right now. And so we could basically just go through a loop, and we keep calling the API until we get all of the base colors that you own, and then we return all of that data at once. So that's what this code is doing here. The reason I'm getting some red squigglies is because I have not declared this as being an async function. So now it is not upset with me. The only thing it's upset about is that my Simple Hash API key is not present. So I have to tell my my IDE that I've got some other things here. We're going to call this one some other things being environment variables. We have one called a Simple Hash API key, so it can expect that. Simple Hash API key, and go back here. I actually need to add that to my .env. I'm going to do that off screen. and then I'll bring it back on screen in a second. But just want to make sure I do this privately. Let me just grab it from an already used project. Beautiful. And all right, great. We've got it there. Bring it back. And now all I have to do is import this from squiggly-env, which is something that the T3 stack gives you. So it's like type safe environment variables, which is nice. Okay. Let's see what actually comes back now if we call this API. Remember, we're using this so that we could figure out what base colors you actually own. All of these are just randomly generated right now as like dummy data, but we're actually gonna get my real base colors NFTs right now. So how do we do that? Let's go back to the front end and let's add the code to do that fetch. So we're going to make a new const data. We'll call these owned base colors, and this will be from this API package that we get from the T3 stack. Oh, see, like we never renamed it from post. We're gonna rename that first, because you can see here it's from this router's post. That's not what we want. We'll call it NFT, and then in our root folder, NFT router from routers NFT, and call it NFT. All right, that was just left over from before. That was just something we forgot to do. So now our type safety will say .nft. Yep, you guessed it, get own base colors, and we're going to want to pass in the address from account address. Now, the reason it is upset with us is because the user might not have connected their account yet, and we might be passing an undefined value to the backend, and the backend requires us to pass in a string. So if we don't have anything, we'll pass an empty string, but that's also not great. And so we are only going to enable this. Oh, gotta say .use query here, otherwise it doesn't know what the heck we're talking about. We're only going to enable this if there's an actual account address. Otherwise, this hook is not going to be running. Okay. So there's a couple of other things I like to do with these types of API requests. I don't like to refetch on window focus. So like if you come out of the window and come back in, this would normally refetch. I don't want that. If we fetch your colors, chances are you haven't minted new ones yet. And if you have, like, we'll handle that separately. And then refetch on mount. I don't need that either. Oop, on mount. Like we don't need that either. We'll just do this like at least amount of fetching as possible. Okay. So if you recall, items is like this randomly generated list of colors. We're going to actually loop over our owned colors now. So let's just like console log them quick, show you what they look like. All right. Look at that. I have 14 colors. This is the shape of them. I've defined this shape in my TypeScript files. Oh, I've been talking for a few minutes straight now. I just need to drink something. Cool. All right. Alrighty. I'm back here. Let's actually replace what's on the page here with these random colors with my actual colors. So we can probably just put the image of the color itself there. I think that would probably be good enough. But let me see. I think there's definitely something here. Yeah, the name is something that we could use perhaps. I think even if you name the color something else, it still keeps that value. Yeah, so like I named this like 39A2F6. I called it Pirates of the Caribbean Blue, but the name is always the hex value. So that's going to be useful when displaying this stuff. So I think what we can do now, let's get rid of all of, like some of this stuff that we just don't need anymore. Get rid of the items and all that other stuff. Let's use the own base colors and map over these once we get them. .nfts. For every NFT, we will pass it into the color prop. Now, the color prop and the color component. Now, the color component was expecting a string. Instead, we'll tell it to expect an NFT that we've defined in our simple hash types. And now we get a whole bunch of other stuff, right? So now the background color will be the color dot name, right? It'll be the hex value. Whoa, saved it, and it's already doing stuff, but it would be a color dot name. This right here. Color dot name. Okay, obviously there's some stuff happening, right? Obviously not what we had hoped. Let's see what's going on. Do we have any errors? Let's refresh here. All right, something's going on. Let's console log the. Oh, we didn't save this file. There. All right. Whew. I was like, I don't know where to go from there. I was like, that looked pretty good to me. Okay, so now these are actually the base colors that I own, and these are the colors. They're true colors right here. Now, if I click it, will it still glow? Yeah, it still glows. Nice. So what we've essentially done is we've gotten to here where we're printing out the base colors on the screen. Now, the goal will be to have a game that makes them glow. I think we're at a good checkpoint to like essentially save the work and be able to come back to the state of the app if we ever had to. So I'm just gonna save my work right now. I think it gives me all the good git. Yeah, it comes with a git ignore, so I'm not like committing my secrets or anything like that. So I'm just gonna save everything, and I'm gonna say initial commit because it is. But it would probably be better to give something a little bit more descriptive, like, I don't know, fetch the real base colors NFTs. But now that we, getting some hydration problems. Getting some hydration problems here. And I wonder, it's complaining about this avatar thing, and I feel like is this happening because of the wallet component? If so, that could be something to look into. If I refresh, yeah, I'm not getting that problem. Only if I put the on-chain wallet component back on. Yeah, so could probably look into that a little bit some other time, but something about this is causing hydration errors, so that's something to note. All right, so let us just put that placeholder stuff back here, so that this is like the little hack, just to protect us from those pesky hydration errors. And then if you're not mounted, don't return anything. All right, so now we won't get those hydration errors anymore. Now let's talk about the game logic. We're not going to be able to finish the whole game here tonight. I'm setting a 20-minute timer for myself here, just to relax, spend some time with the fiance before the week starts. So at 9:30 we'll break, but I think we could make some like prototype hacky stuff for the game to like cause certain colors to glow. So maybe if we click like a start game button or something, the game will. Let's do this. Click start game. I'll make this super big. All right, you click start game. We collect your base colors as options. Maybe like hard code your base colors as options. Then we start a new pattern, or how about generate a pattern of length 1, which is essentially picking a random color. And then if we like allow user to send back a pattern, we check if the pattern matches. If it matches, you know, generate pattern, like generate next step in pattern, and then if it doesn't, and then, you know, generate next step, like there's a few things you have to do. Generate the next step in the pattern. You have to increment their streak count, and then I think that's it. And then 7, if it doesn't match end game, reset streak. All right, so let's add a button to start a game. Not worry about anything else right now, like nothing like about the aesthetics or anything. We're just gonna make it work. Yeah, start game. We'll probably use a database for this in the real world, but for now we'll just kind of keep it, you know, in, what do you call this? Like, it's like on the client, just like chilling. So we'll call this like game set game, and this is just going to be like a anything right now, which my TypeScript is not going to like. Let me just do a quick thought here. Hard code your colors as options. Yeah, so like if we think about what the shape of a game will look like, you're going to have colors, which is going to be a string, of your colors. You're going to have a streak, which is going to be a number. Yep. You're going to have a pattern, which is going to be a string. And I think that's fine for now. And maybe a score, which is a number, which is essentially colors.length times streak. And at least that's just what we're doing right now. Okay, so this will be a game. And it doesn't like this because it doesn't like our little hack. All right, this little hack thing should be the last thing in this whole component. And when you click start a game, we're going to set the game. Yeah, exactly like that. We're going to set the game to your base colors. And maybe can we just like pick one random color? Possibly undefined. I mean, not really, right? Well, I guess like, yeah, if there are, well, now it's like let's just do this for a second here. Random color. What is it? Yeah. And it doesn't like this because it could be undefined. So we'll just say if you don't have any own base colors, then you can't play. So it's like, we'll just quickly right now, we'll just return this, but it's a number? No, we won't, because we want the pick a random owned base color and return its name. That's what we want. We want a string. Oh, Lord have mercy. What's going on? Possibly undefined. Boom. It's just, right now we're just kind of trying to make it work before I have to hop off in 15 minutes. So, all right. So now we've got our game. Now let's just see what the game looks like. We'll just like print it out on the bottom of the page here. We'll JSON stringify it and just see what this looks like. Start the game. Great. These are all of my available colors. This is the color that would glow first, and that's my score is 0. All right. So we're getting somewhere. It's starting to take a little bit of shape. The very first thing that's going to do when we click start game is we're going to make that first random color glow, and then we'll let the user click, and we'll get the next pattern. All right.
lock in here last 15 minutes. Kind of kick it into high gear a little bit. Based, baby. Based MC says it's based. It is based. All right. Let's like I said, let's lock it in. So let's I just want to make sure the stream's still working. Okay, it is. All right, perfect. All right, so game started. We want to now this is the interesting part, right? We want these to glow, but we want them to like glow in order, right? We want it to like glow that first one. Now say there were 2 in the pattern. Glow. The next one would glow. So it's like we could say like we could pass in something like a Boolean to be like is glowing, and then in the so in the parent we'll have like an is glowing thing, and this is actually going to be this, or how about like the color glowing color, right? And that'll be like the hex color of whatever color is currently glowing. And then here is glowing would be if the glowing color is equal to the NFT name. And here we'll just pronounce like is glowing, and instead of this how about like we could just name these something else, because essentially this is really just to like indicate that it should be glowing. How about like see, like naming things is like the hardest part of this whole process. They're not wrong about that. When they say naming things is hard, that's really the hardest part. What should we, how about like is background glowing? How about that? And then down here, set that. Okay. Now here, what we want to do is we want to watch that, and exactly, if it changes to be true, then set it to, no, not really. I want it to kind of like, yeah, no, this is right. I want it to set the color, because then the game is going to set this own, have its own timer and come back into this component and then turn the glowing off. So here we'll just pass it. It is glowing, and you'll see in a second what I mean by that, but we're basically going to like rotate through all of the colors in the pattern and set them to glowing one by one. So like how about like we'll have like a play pattern function, and yeah, like this is not bad. Let me see. So for the game, it's for the pattern, for every color, set a timeout. Yep. So this is just like, I want it to be 3 seconds. Did I do 3 seconds or did I do 300 millis? Yeah, I did 3 seconds. Set the glowing color to this color, and then in 1 second, set it to be undefined. Okay, let's just do this. Like, I want it to be 3, and then this can be let's just see what this looks like. If we like 3 seconds in between, I don't know if that's too much or not. Let's just like play the pattern, see what happens. Now, this is actually not going to be, this is not synchronous, so we actually have to wait for the game. We have to only call this when the game changes. So call play pattern when the game is updated. Now we could use use callback. Yeah, set this into a use callback so we're not like freaking out React. All right, let's see what happens now. It's a lot of code, and I didn't talk while coding that, and I'm sorry. So I'll explain that in a second. Let's see what happens here. Glowing. That kind of did what I wanted, but we didn't see what happens with multiple things. Let's add like several colors to the pattern first. Let's add like, you know, add a second. Random color. Oh, it's random color too. All right, and a third. And then we'll just add these for now, just to see what it looks like. We're really just testing out the play pattern function. All right, there's our first glow, and not working out so good. Not working out so good. It's this timer that's not right. Maybe it needs to be a little bit. Let me just make it like this. All right, glowing. And now glowing. Okay, so glowing. Okay, so it's too slow. I think that's the first piece of feedback. It's glowing too slow. But I think like if we cut this down in half, like make it 15 and 3, see what that looks like. Glowing, glowing, glowing. Okay. I feel like it should be like beep, boop, bump, bump, right? Let's see. Beep, boop, bump. All right, that's not so bad. I'm not like, yeah, they could definitely use some tweaking. I'm not too unhappy with that. Let's get rid of these test boys, and let's see if we can make it so that when the user clicks on a color, we are checking, we're adding it to the pattern. So we need to know like const user generated pattern. Okay. And when they click on a color, is there an on? It's not going to be here. Yeah. Can we make a div around it? Is this even smart? I don't know. For if they click on this div that's around the color, we'll add that color to the user generated pattern. Let's see. And if we just say like, we'll make it look like it's clickable by giving it like the cursor pointer. There's a cursor pointer, so it looks like you can click on it. And then on the click, we will add that to the user wow. Wow, it's a lot of code. Let's just see what it wanted us to do. What it thinks we should do. All right, so set the user generated pattern to be whatever it is currently plus this NFT name. And if the user generated pattern is now +1 is of the game pattern length, then the user, so this is doing the check for us right here. So if the user generated pattern is equal to the game pattern, then it is trying to find another, it's going to add to the pattern. That's kind of cool. It's doing all the game logic. It's almost like it knows. Yeah. Well, what about this is not working? All right, so it's kind of just like, doesn't trust itself to find a game color. All right, I'm gonna ignore that for a second, but that looked like it's actually trying to do all the game logic right there, which we're gonna eventually have to do on the server. But I mean, for getting this done in 4 minutes, that's pretty freaking cool. All right, let's see what happens here. Refresh the page. Start my game. You go in on this one, so I go on that one, and nothing here is telling it to call that use effect. Well, I am setting the game to something, and then the game will update, and then it will play the pattern. So it technically should be doing this. So then let's see. Game updated. All right, so that'll be the. All right, so we're getting some game updated stuff here. Let's do start. Game updated. It buzzed us here. All right, let's clear it and click. And the game updated to undefined. The game was undefined. Let's find out why. You see here, if the user... So this might be a bit of that race condition stuff we were talking about before, where set state isn't actually... this isn't guaranteed to have the updated state here. Let us save this to something locally in the scope first. Yeah, like new user generated pattern. And then we will just set this to this. And we will be checking these things instead, because we know those things are going to be there. And why is this... It's so hell-bent on... All right. Well, here's the thing. It's... Yeah. Let's just try it with this. See what happens. Bzzzt, right? Just like... Bzzzt. All right, come on. What was that about? Let us all right. This isn't the right check. All right, let's start that game. It buzzed this one. All right, game updated. Buzz, buzz. All right, we got something. We might have something here. Buzz, buzz. Did it just do that again? All right, so, look, it needs some finessing, that's for sure. But look, it's doing what we wanted. I just think that the play needs to have a little bit of finessing to the front end. But look, it's 9:30, and I had to cut it short here. But it looks like if we click, if I click that again, after it's done, and then I click this, we move on to the next iteration of the game. All right, that's kind of cool. And it goes up there. All right, look, that's kind of cool. I'm going to do a quick wrap up here, a reset of like everything we've done on the stream today, and kind of wrap it up here for you. So what did we do? Well, the very first thing we did was we went to create T3 stack, right? Create T3.gg. We used the T3 stack to create a brand new Next.js application with Tailwind, TypeScript, and TRPC. Then what did we do? We went to OnchainKit.xyz, and we followed the getting started notes, and we added an on-chain component to our Next.js app, which let people connect with their wallet, which we could see the address of the user's wallet that is connected to our game. Then we took that address and we went to Simple Hash, this API that could read things like NFTs in somebody's wallet, and we displayed all of the base color NFTs, right, from this collection, the base colors collection, that address owns, and put them on the page. And then we made a little game out of it, and we made it the Simon game. So if you remember Simon from back in the day, it makes a random pattern, and you have to repeat the pattern back to it. So you just click on whatever glowed up, and then it just keeps adding to the pattern, and you have to keep remembering what the pattern was, right? And so then it does the next pattern, right? And so now you just have to kind of keep going, right? And the game will just do this perpetually until you don't do the right pattern back at it, right? So it definitely has a long way to go, but I think this was a really cool hour spent kind of just like tinkering around with Onchain Kit. Thank you, Leo, for like joining. And I saw you took the piece of feedback around the identity component. It's just so cool when folks like build in the open, and there's like a community of people who have the energy to be like online at like Sunday evening, just still open for business when it comes to getting feedback on what they're building. You just can tell there's a lot of conviction and energy in what they're doing. So that's so cool to see. All right. Well, I want to say like thank you to like all 1,400 freaking people who joined to build in the open with me. I super appreciate that. If you want anything in particular to be built, or if you have any questions about what was done today, you can find me on Warpcast at Mike MYK. You can find me here on Twitter. Drop me a DM. And I'm most active on Warpcast. So you can, if you're not sure what that is, look into that and get on Warpcast. It's a super awesome community there. But thank you again. Really appreciate you. Hope everyone has a great night and great rest of the upcoming week. My goodness. I'm not going to sign off like that, am I? No. Have to, though. All right. Stay based, everyone.